To celebrate the 10 years that we're about to discuss, I'm actually dropping a bunch of new merch. It's down in the description. It's some new clothing, a hat, hoodie, a brand new desk mat and poster that look really, really good. A sticker sheet. There's a lot of stuff. It's very cool. It's all in the description. You go watch the video, whatever first. Then you can come back, check it all out. It's some pretty great stuff. I'm very proud of it. The link is down there. Yeah, give it a check out. Happy 10 year. Woo!
Hello everybody, it is.
Hi. Hey. Hello. So, my name is Bricky, and today is February 10th, 2025. The 10-year anniversary of my YouTube channel, and marking a full decade of doing this YouTube stuff. What you just saw, despite appearances, is not the first video I have ever put out on this channel. In fact, if you were to go to uploaded videos and sort by date, technically the oldest video you see isn't even the first uploaded video either. Bricky is not even what this channel was originally called. As someone who has played a lot of games, been in many communities, and done a lot of traveling, one of the most asked questions from strangers to family members is, how did you get into all that? It's been a really strange decade, and while weathering the assault of cringe that is some of my old content, going back to reminisce has been confusingly nostalgic. It's been a journey, and documenting that journey is the goal of what we are doing today. It's been 10 whole years, a decade. People who found a funny League of Legends guide one day in middle school are now in college, and I prefer it if Father Time could pound his own hourglass sand for that fact alone. But if you'd pardon the narcissistic behavior for just one video and join me on telling my own personal story, it may be fun and a bit quaint. So sit back, relax, and grab yourself the mandatory fireside food for a bit of a trip down memory lane. I have not had an extensive job history. In high school, I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do and tended to drown that encroaching uncertainty with video games. I grew up in Orange County, California, and I have two loving parents who are still together and gave me a pretty fantastic middle-class life. Sometimes a little upper middle, sometimes a little lower middle, but needless to say, I grew up very well. And one of the things I was most involved with was the Boy Scouts of America. My parents made it so that I always had to have two extracurricular activities, with one of them being physical in nature. So I played some sports growing up and was a hardcore Boy Scout, earning my Eagle at 15 years old, which is pretty damn early, and eventually got to become a two-time Gold Palm recipient. Basically, I was really into scouting at the time, and one of the merit badges I received was in fire safety. This merit badge was really just about learning how to prevent, identify, and put out fires in the house and in the woods. But one of the requirements was to visit a fire station and just take a walk around and see the equipment. Turns out one of my dad's friends was the fire captain at Long Beach Station 13. So instead of a visit, I went on a 6-hour ride along, which did not just mean going on the calls, it also included cooking, cleaning, checkups, maintenance, basically whatever they wanted me to do. This turned out to be one of the best experiences in my life. I loved the environment. The hazing was hilarious in hindsight. They bet me I couldn't eat an entire box of donuts before the end of the shift, and I downed 16 of them in 6 hours to try to prove them wrong, while they were secretly refilling the box when I went out with the crew on calls. I saw a response to a car crash and nearly tripped over a patient's IV pole because I got queasy from a finger prick. I immediately went back a few months later for a 24-hour ride along and saw not only my first dead body in the street, but also the first patient that didn't make it after the transport. Morbid sounding things at the moment, but this just increased how much I was interested in doing the job. My high school had a program that allowed me to take fire tech and EMR classes, so I signed up and launched my career path. During the last year of high school, I ended up working at a local Dairy Queen in Aliso Viejo for about a year at the age of 17 to 18. In school, we had an ROP program, so I was able to take EMT school from 4 to 9 p.m. 2 days days a week. And funnily enough, Dairy Queen was when I first got really interested in Warhammer 40k. I had played Warhammer games before, Space Marine 1 as well as the Dawn of War series at a PC cafe called Howie's Game Shack, rest in peace. But here at Dairy Queen, my manager asked me if I knew about Warhammer, and I foolishly said, only a little bit, but I don't know much about each faction. To which he went to the back wall, wrote them all down on a whiteboard, and loudly proclaimed, "We are starting with Necrons." On my 18th birthday, I passed my EMT exam and began looking for jobs nearby. After completely failing an interview with Care Ambulance by inserting an airway on the dummy the wrong way, I ended up applying for a smaller ambulance company named Medline. Medline was out of the Anaheim area and was no more than maybe 10 people with only 2 functioning ambulances. See, getting a job as an EMT is actually quite hard in a more densely populated area like Southern California, because the medical field is very popular and you all need to start from the lower position. Luckily, I got this job at a beautiful, whopping $8.50 an hour, a 50-cent raise from the income I received at Dairy Queen. It was fun, no doubt, but truly it wasn't the most exciting, as we didn't get 911 calls. It was mostly people being transported to dialysis, elderly and unresponsive patients from the human prisons that are skilled nursing facilities, or 5150 calls. During this time, I was taking college classes as well, general education at Saddleback Community College, but moving towards medical classes and the cherry on top, a paramedic school program. However, a certain wave of melancholy began to really hit me. The actual job of being an EMT was very fun. I got to talk to new people every day, build rapport with certain patients I saw often, and most importantly, never have any moral qualms with what I was doing. But the reality was that everybody treats you like shit. The company is a startup, and therefore contracts and insurance money is more important than being on time. So my boss would overbook calls to get payments, which would lead us to being shooed out by the nurses every time we arrived. The patients, especially those at the SNFs, hated their lives and in turn hated us. The nurses at the ER are overworked and take that energy out on us, and because I wasn't doing anything 911 related, almost every single call boiled down to a shitload of paperwork, oxygen, and transport. The average age of getting a job as a firefighter in Orange County was 25, and therefore I had another 6 years of this as well as paramedic school and fire academy ahead of me, all the while making $8.50 per hour. I really loved the idea of fire, genuinely, but the path to get there was painfully difficult at the best of times. Eventually, I was promoted to dispatch, which meant that instead of going out on the ambulance, I would sit in the office for 12 hours a day and answer calls to direct the crews out where they needed to go. But because it's a small company, I got maybe 5 calls per day. The extra $1 an hour pay bump was nice, but this only added to my boredom. So what did I do? I watched a shit ton of YouTube, in particular, hundreds of episodes of the co-optional podcast with Dodger, Jesse Cox, and the late great Total Biscuit. In fact, this was the main source of entertainment I had on shifts, and started thinking how fun it would be to do something similar. Making my own videos, if anything, would just help pass the time. So I bought myself a laptop and started to go to work with my current fixation, League of Legends. Not at the office, mind you. No. I could never bring myself to play League on the job. I played COD Advanced Warfare on the projector in the conference room, like a civilized individual. I ended up very legally acquiring a copy of Sony Vegas editing software and worked on putting together gameplay compilations for League and CSGO. The original first few videos I made are lost to time, but the first video you see currently on the channel, that's still up, was edited with only a trackpad with me in full uniform at a coffee bean and tea leaf in between picking up patients from dialysis. Of course, a YouTube channel needed a name. So I asked my friends. All of us used to spend every Friday night at a buddy's house playing Mortal Kombat 9 and COD Zombies, but we didn't have or just didn't want to spend the money for an Xbox Live account. So we pooled together for a single one at the house with the randomly generated Microsoft username of Bricky Orchid 8. Naturally, such a ridiculous and stupid name is hilarious to say out loud. Could you imagine someone opening up a video with, "Hey everybody, it's me, Bricky Orchid 8.
Hello everybody, it is Bricky Orchid 8 here today, and
It's ludicrous and hilarious. So what a funny idea it would be to make that the channel name. What a great inside joke. Thus, Bricky Orchid 8 was born into the world. Of course, I had no subscribers at the time outside of friends and family, but one day I had a late night shift and was finishing up a video of mine. I don't fully remember the name, but it went something along the lines of story time, surrender at 20 or forfeit at 20, something like that. It was basically a retelling of my Diamond Promotions League of Legends match that was relatively humorous and some of the first scripted content I had ever made, all recorded on a lovely HyperX headset mic. So I decided to venture over to the League of Legends subreddit and make a post about my newest upload for all to see. Then I sat back and watched it go, expecting nothing once again. But when I refreshed my channel about an hour later, I noticed my subscriber count had moved from 7 to 19. 12 more subscribers. The upvotes, oh baby, they were flowing directly into my veins. 25 subscribers, 29 subscribers, 34 subscribers. I was driving home from work absolutely ecstatic, genuinely heart rate in the low hundreds. The video eventually hit the front page of the subreddit, which might not seem like something big, but at the time, this was huge. Reddit was one of the main sources of new content, and it wasn't just all bitching about why a good game is actually bad. I went to bed that night barely able to sleep because I kept refreshing my laptop to see the new subscriber number. I was so damn excited. I woke up at 5 a.m. with a whopping monumental 150 subscribers. I went to go walk the dog with my mom and would not shut up about how excited I was that people not only watched, but liked the videos so much that they would subscribe to my channel. This was a formula that I thought was seriously hashtag winning, so I replicated it multiple times. Storytime Nip Nip was an albeit very flamboyant telling of a CSGO match with a guy doing nothing but eating chips. There were storytime videos for Arma 3, DayZ, more League of Legends, and CSGO, and every time I would make them, I would upload them on the associated Reddit. I made additional accounts on Reddit when my prior accounts got shadow banned for self-promotion. I was shameless and most likely very annoying, but god damn it, that was the play back then. Eventually, over time, my channel started to make some actual real money via Google ads and passing the $100 a month threshold that is required to send the creator a payout. Hilariously, at one point, tragedy struck as my first ever storytime video was removed from YouTube for unsafe conduct and/or bullying, and I had received a strike on my channel. Now, to be clear, the video bullied absolutely nobody, but there may have been a gamer word or two in that video that YouTube didn't take too kindly. I was 19 and sang along to Not Like Us in MW2 lobbies. It was a different time, what can I say? But because my channel had a strike, I actually wasn't able to join the rampant scam of the MCN, or multi-channel network parasites. No matter how many times I was interested in being a part of good old machinima.
Hey, this is starting to sound fishy. I think I'm gonna cancel this contract, please.
Oh, a year is a year.
But you said I could cancel whenever I wanted.
Guess we flat out lied.
Thank you, YouTube, for the channel strike. You have no idea the bullet you helped me dodge. Eventually, I started to actually make some genuine money. And by genuine money, I mean about the same amount I was making as an EMT at now $10.50 an hour. At this point, I was so overworked. I had 40 hours a week on the ambulance with a 30-minute commute to and from. I was taking 3 to 4 college classes each semester, and I was attempting to upload a video once every other day and stream a few times a week. I was overloaded to an extent that probably is why I had gray hairs in my beard in my 20s. So I decided to take a gamble. I would ask my boss for a raise, and if he says no, I'll put in my 2 weeks and give this whole YouTube thing a shot. I asked, and he said no. So I put in my 2 weeks. Now, in fairness, Medline Ambulance shut down literally a month after I left, so I think it was already heading that way anyway, but my decision was made. I talked to my parents, and they allowed me to take a break from my college classes and live with them for another year to allow me to pursue my dreams of this funny, weird YouTube thing for a bit. And if nothing came from it, they would ask me to go back to school and find a new job to move forward with my career. So it was time to try to make something of it.
Hello everybody, it is Bricky Orchid 8 here today, and I had promised the face reveal and Q&A, and well, you get to answer the age-old question, does the voice match the face? And I'm guessing probably not. Nope, definitely not.
This was my 10,000 subscriber face reveal video. All the videos I had been making before were purely audio, and this was my first attempt to actually be on camera. Turns out things were actually moving along at a pretty steady pace. At the time, I was really out there with all the videos I was putting out. A lot of my original content was based around scripted content, specifically the story time videos and the CSGO silver guides, short weapon reviews with a bunch of shitty jokes with thumbnails made with a very legally obtained copy of Photoshop and some with actual MS Paint. But at the time, on YouTube, there was something very popular: the top 10 lists. Watch Mojo was the king of YouTube views by putting out constant random top 10 lists for no reason. And the meaning for this was simple. YouTube, with varying degrees of severity over its history, loves watch retention above all. If you want a video to be picked up by the algorithm in the last 10 years, the thing you want more than anything is to make sure the person watches the whole damn thing. Watch retention is and always has been the name of the game. And so what's a good way to get people to watch an entire video? Make a list. So it was time to make my own. And what better topic to choose than the game currently consuming my life? League of Legends. Was in full bloom on YouTube, and thanks to a couple key members and their creative output, views were high. In came the Total Dick Champion series, a small series of characters that are just awful to fight against. You know, the classics: Jace, Yorick, Quinn top lane, real degenerate hours for a different time. The videos did, well, not too bad, and naturally led me to a completely new series. If I wanted to make funny guides, I needed a game with a ton of characters. But of course, I needed a name for it all.
And don't you worry, I do have a new series coming soon, with the first episode being So You Wanna Be a Leona Main.
The So You Wanna Main series was a hybrid of comedic and actual advice for playing the various champions in League of Legends. And let me tell you, good lord, were they a pain in the ass to make. Not only did you need to play a huge amount of League, but you could only ever use good footage. So if you just happened to have a bad game, you just wasted between 30 to 60 minutes of your time. This was not to mention the sheer volume of editing that went into these videos. It actually feels really quaint right now. A lot of the jokes are very simple and lack decent pacing and tone, but still, it was a series that ended up doing really well, and more than anything, it catapulted me into an entirely different world. One thing that is a bit misconstrued about this whole era is that I was very far from being just a League content creator. It might have been actually in the minority of the videos I made. I wanted to make all kinds of content at the same time. I had a Monday gameplay discussion video equipped with PO box openings where fans gave me some very interesting items.
Why not send me a 14-inch fist dildo as well?
I also made just gameplay commentary of various titles, played tons of games, chatted about new things happening. I was a channel of a million different series and a million different topics because I wanted to do a ton of things at the same time. But League of Legends were the things with the views. And one of the most important things that came from this era was it was really the first time I made some true, real friends in this industry and expanded the one-man show into something much more.
Hi, so did you know that if you use lootcrate.com, yeah, Timo, buddy. Did I say /Bricky yet?
No. Start from the beginning.
Go to lootcrate.com. This is the fourth forehead.
Magikarp used Fly, Darkmane, Frost Prime, Yako CMN, Red Riot Ross, myself, and many others that didn't do YouTube at the time formed the Little League content group, the Carp Crew, named after Magikarp, who himself was the most prolific and sizable of us all at the time. The whole Carp Crew era really was like beautiful and nostalgic, not just because it was fun and I was a part of it, but because it really felt like a brand new type of content world was being formed and we didn't even really realize it. Back then, there was a massive hunger for League of Legends content, but most of the content was, frankly, very low effort stuff. Low effort not being used in a negative connotation. People eat up champion build guides and patch note overhauls aplenty, but it left a void for something a bit more substantial, a bit more meaty. Plus, and this is something not a whole lot of people may know, a really good way to get content creators to watch other content creators is to make more specialized, higher quality videos. Because when you can see behind the curtain yourself, you don't have any interest in watching stream highlights unless you really like the streamer.
Give me a kiss right on the cheek. Come on. Right on the cheek. Come on. Come on.
All of us found each other because we were some of the only people putting in a lot of editing effort into this kind of content, and it really is a point of pride for me. The group came together because we liked each other's work and sought to play more with each other and allow those personalities to come together and make just funny ass stuff.
Oh shit, he's also pretty edge. He's also really edge.
Dude, there's a lot of minions here. What the fuck type of plan was this?
This is
It's cool. It's like it looks like Bard like put a bunch of just drugs inside the hot cocoa and he's just talking to the penguins like, it's good shit, right? It's good, huh? This is some good shit that I put in that.
He's like, yeah.
that's why the penguin can hold the hot cocoa, because he's just tripping super fucking hard.
And that's why the penguin in the front's just like, oh fuck, dude, I'm tripping too hard, man.
Oh fuck, man.
Oh man, Bard, what'd you put in this shit, dude?
My kill.
Well,
Wait, I thought, oh no, I thought that Metapanda was mid. I thought that I took the kill from him, not B.
Jungle.
Shit.
It really shouldn't go understated that this was a trailblazing sequence. It wasn't just us, of course, but this was the group I was a part of. There were their own League content groups with their own drama, events, and strategies, but it was an open forum. Editing tools and techniques were shared freely. Fancy spectating angles and modes for new montages and bits were then added and then broke with every new League patch. Experimentation and cooperation were plenty, and competition fell by the wayside for everyone except for the most petulant of streamers. It wasn't perfect, far from it, but it had the same feeling that a gold rush has, where everything seems possible and everything is happening all at once with money to be made. But every gold rush eventually ends, and that came with changes to the YouTube algorithms. At a point, YouTube changed up its algorithm to favor videos that hit a certain threshold of time, but were not overly long, specifically around the 10-minute mark. This was the sweet spot for content, but it was also the length a video needed to be to allow for mid-roll ads to be added.
kill me already. I'm a villain, not a monster.
The meme has even persisted today in the really stretching for the 10-minute mark joke. The algorithm also was adjusted to heavily reward far more active content, multiple times a week, if not daily when possible. It should be no surprise that carefully edited, scripted, and micromanaged guides are not things that can be churned out in a day, but stream highlights absolutely could. Cue public enemy number 1. To be clear, this is a joke. I got no ill will against I'm a Cutie Pie, but at the time, there was definitely an immense air of envy. He was a massive streamer of League of Legends, along with many others, including, at the time, infamous Tyler1. They pumped out stream highlight after stream highlight, 10 to 20-minute videos getting over 500k views every single day, and soon the League of Legends content sphere was completely awash with specifically the same easy-to-churn out content that originally is what had us succeed by going against it. Plus, can you imagine how demoralizing that ends up being? Like, how can I look at myself slaving away in Premiere Pro for 60 work hours per video, not to mention the script and the gameplay requirements to get a third of the views as a once a day AP Master Yi highlight build ripped from stream? You can push the personal creativity and make what you want to make as much as you want, but when you look at it, you just can't help but feel demoralized. Honestly, what ended up killing this era of my YouTube life, it wasn't a falling out with people, it wasn't a cancellation or fading into irrelevance, it was just how YouTube prioritized content. From there, it just slowly became a thing we all moved away from. This was many years ago, and each member of the Carp crew are out doing their own thing. Frost Prime is an extremely prolific streamer who found his calling in Slay the Spire and other roguelites. Yako still has kept up the high quality videos and only released something every few months, but they're always bangers. Darkmane is, I think, doing like real life stuff and career things, but occasionally comes back to do the same thing he's done for the past 100 years, bless his soul. Ross is big on fighting games, and Noita, and Matt, well, we'll talk about Matt later.
Now it is time to talk about my favorite race.
From there, I basically quit League of Legends. Not only because I was getting tired with the game, but also, and I feel like this is extremely poignant in today's day and age, nothing feels worse than doing the exact same thing you did a year ago and making half as much. League, especially, is a very toxic game to play for content. Not because of the viewers, but sometimes because of the viewers, but because it's a game that only League players will ever watch. Anyone who streams games know this. If you make a certain game part of your channel identity, playing anything else will tank viewership. You'll ask the stream, will you all watch the stream if I play another game? And they'll enthusiastically yell, yes, only to set their pants thermonuclear and lie out of their ass as you get 30% viewership. The difference, however, is that if I were to stream Fortnite and then play Apex, yeah, it would drop, but you at least understand that gun go bang and be the last person alive. That's the goal. There's carryover. With League, there is zero carryover. League of Legends players need to memorize by heart 150 character abilities, builds, cooldowns, positions, matchups, and more by heart, and they refuse to watch any other MOBA. League people stay with League, so sticking with it means pigeonholing yourself massively when it comes to all other content. Do you pick good money now and live a life of one game? Or do you take a major hit in the finances and viewership and try to branch out? Truth be told, not sticking to one style was actually quite the blessing here. Wanting to do a million things at least meant I had a small but dedicated fan base happy to see me be more random. Of course, even with the shifting landscape of YouTube, I still tried to work on the things I would be good at, which are comedic, guide style videos. I just made them in a multitude of ways, and on so so many games. The Fast Frame series, the Dead by Daylight case files, the For Honor Volcano guides, the Overwatch One Trick guides, Pilot Academy, not just guides too. I got really into all of these games in one way or another. It's rare to find someone who wasn't super into Overwatch when it came out, but For Honor, good lord, For Honor. I came into that game and left a worse person. Hundreds of hours of duels, 4v4s, taunting, shit talking, mauling, crashing out, and some of the most toxic people you could have, but there truly was nothing else like it. Dead by Daylight was also my poison. Similar issues here, tons of very toxic players, plus a game system where playing optimally often got you the most death threats out of any other game. I actually really got into Dead by Daylight. It was my main game as much as something like League of Legends. However, there is less history to it. I enjoyed it a lot, and I was a pretty good killer main and streamed it almost exclusively. I made some good friends through it as well, friends I still talk to, but much like League, it's one of those games that does not translate to other titles as well. Sure, when they first released Michael Myers, it's hype as hell and everyone was talking about it, but now I occasionally see news on the game, and the amount of cameos and licenses in the title just don't give me an urge to come back. That, and I don't need survivors I kill coming to my Twitch chat flaming me like they oh so love to do. Warframe was humorously on the other side of the spectrum, an enjoyable and rather relaxing game with a community that was genuinely kind and a dev team with transparency I haven't seen too often. Warframe itself as a game isn't something I made an outstanding amount of content on, but it did end up playing a vital importance into meeting specific people for the future. Hilariously, and for reasons I don't really know why, one of my most critically enjoyed series was something called Fireside Bricky. I was doing this back in the League days, but it was my own little riff on the fireside chats that FDR used to do in the 40s. And by riff, I mean it's just an unedited commentary to the background of a more relaxed video game, speaking to the masses. More so, the main thing was I didn't talk about the game itself, just rather life. How things are going, my experiences, lessons I took from it, more than just surface level conversations. I don't truly know if it's actually good advice. You know, when you're 21, you're embarrassed about how you acted when you were 20, and at 22, you're embarrassed about how you acted at 21, etc. But despite that, it was one of the things that grew a hyper dedicated audience of people more there for me than just the game. And I think without it, I would have struggled to break out of the League space like I did. Nomadic variety content creation was a really weird thing to be a part of, because I was part of communities that were entirely composed of people who dedicated their entire channel only to individual games. I was there because I had a series or two do rather well, despite it only taking up maybe 20% of the stuff I actually did. It made for a really fragmented and fractured fan base, and it did create a never-ending stream of, hey Bricky, when are you gonna go back and finish Geist or one of 10 other different games? It was just throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. During this time, I fell into every pitfall I could have. I burned out plenty of times, tried new things that didn't work out, often quit games I still had dedicated fans of, therefore segmenting the audience even more. I may have had a channel of 500,000 subscribers, but every 50,000 of those were from a different era or a different game. I even on a whim thought, hey, people only ever call me Bricky anyway, might as well just change the channel name to that. At one point, I just said screw it entirely and tried to rebrand myself as a vlogging channel. Turns out, vlogging is a horrible experience and will not get you in heaven, so that lasted about 3 weeks max. The tipping point was when I tried to make a review. I wasn't finding success with anything that was really sticking. I wanted to spend less time being reactive and spend more time being proactive. Let's plays, live streams, all of that is action first and then my response second. I started to yearn for something a bit more developed. This was in 2019, and the new Modern Warfare remake came out, and for the first time in a while, the world was pretty positive on COD again. I whipped up a little video on it, and it did shockingly well. For the first time in a really long time, a scripted, heavily edited project like the League days did great, and it wasn't on a game that I already had a series on. Also, video essays in general were becoming a bit more of the norm, and YouTube was pushing them more than the highlights they used to push. So I tried out a few more, and then a few more, and then we struck gold. Darkwood is just one of a long history of fantastic games I really enjoyed, but it was the one that really shot into the stratosphere. No doubt helped by a rather catchy title, but also because I was so passionate about that game. A fantastic top-down horror title with some real butt-clenching moments that I discussed in length. I finally was being rewarded for making videos that not only had a lot more depth to them, but they were videos about things I was passionate about. Because, I mean, who the hell knew about Darkwood? Modern Warfare 2019 was the hot thing, so it made sense. But this indie Polish game to 6x its popularity, what a steal. So we have our winning formula. Highly edited, scripted content on things I'm passionate about. But I'm not just passionate about video games. You remember Matt, Magikarp Use Fly? He's a big board game guy. Even though we didn't do much content together anymore, a bunch of our mutual friends and I would still hang out thanks to us all living in SoCal and either get together to game, eat, or play board games. Disney's Villainous was a big one, but with Matt's long filmmaking history, we wanted to get into making a board game channel specifically. That includes building up a table and finding new things to play with people. I, in an offhand moment, remember playing the tabletop game of Warhammer 40,000 when I worked at Dairy Queen, and ever so slyly suggested we give it a shot.
That's right. Why do heroin when you can just get into Warhammer 40,000? And if you're even a little bit jealous of your friend's disposable income, get them into it too. Watch as you and everyone around you start eating top ramen every evening because that new box set isn't gonna buy itself.
While board games were the original plan, things moved quickly into Warhammer, which was a combination of good and terrible timing. The COVID pandemic was on the rise, which made Warhammer as a game a lot more popular due to the whole being completely stuck inside thing. It also made playing together for the new Dice Check YouTube channel tough. But if people weren't hungry for those battle reports, even though leaving the house was a challenge, painting minis is why I don't pay for a therapist. I'm sure it's degrading my brain cells, but there are few smells in the world that put me more at ease than some Tamiya thin cement. So I was playing tabletop games with my friends and hobbying while stuck inside. I was interested, I was passionate, and I wanted to share that passion with others. So I went home and decided to whip up a fun little script. People are getting into this hobby more and more lately, so maybe a little universe refresher would be good for them. Just a tiny little passion project for myself called Every Faction Explained. If there's anything that you should take from watching this, is that you never expect a video to do well. You can put things in its favor, work hard on it, and really make it the best you think it can be. But truly, some things will be graced by the YouTube algorithm and some won't. Every Warhammer Faction Explained is one of those videos where, frankly, if I had known it would have done as well as it did, I would have spent a bit more time fact-checking it. This could be me because every person feels embarrassed about their older videos, but I don't consider it to be one of my best works. The pacing is off. The whole reason I don't have legs is because I screwed up the green screen. The music choices are a bit mid and not all the jokes land, but I can't deny it was something I was still extremely passionate about. Combine that with the COVID issues, Warhammer on the rise, and the good old YouTube loves lists and watch retention, and well, it performed above expectations. The video truly did and continues to do very well and is shared among circles of people getting into Warhammer. I don't think it should be the video to get into the hobby. It's not completely accurate and it's a bit lax on the details, but I'll try not to look a gift death rider in the mouth. From there, I did do a few more Warhammer videos on the main channel, including how to start armies, media options, and every Space Marine Legion explained, which I actually think to be a far better video overall, but I've mostly kept to the two main things: game reviews and light video essays. The Warhammer has mainly come from elsewhere. I have a second channel that I tend to put the lower effort content on, such as stream highlights or just things I want to make videos on that don't fit on the main channel. A lot of my general fanboying for the new 40K stuff was placed there, like the faction focuses in 10th edition or just tournament recaps. However, one day, an old mutual Warframe creator hit me up. She told me another Warframe creator didn't know anything about 40K, and since I made this big Warhammer video talking about it and I know plenty about it, perhaps there's a kind of idea there. Something maybe a little bit long-term, like a podcast. So my two Warframe friends, Quiet Shy and DK Diamantes, embark on an attempt to make a new podcast where a Warhammer nerd tells a Warhammer greenhorn all about the ridiculousness of the universe. A concept that normally gets me kicked out of bars and rejected by women, instead reformed into an actual business. A misconception that I often hear is that Adeptus Ridiculous is my podcast channel, but it is not. I am simply the largest creator on it. This whole idea and everything behind the scenes is entirely Shy's. And what an idea it was. Adeptus Ridiculous, off the back of the pandemic and Warhammer's more mainstream appeal, has done fantastic. It's not without its flaws. I myself was an avid fan of 40K, but not what I would call a walking lexicon. What we brought in general energy and accessibility had the trade-off of errors and just lack of research time. But personally, I don't think that's been the case as of lately. We have made the point of hiring a researcher and also bringing on new guests with better knowledge to assist, and when I have a busy schedule. Adeptus Ridiculous really is something that I think is significantly more and better as of lately, and it continues to grow. Newer topics, more guests, and just hitting our stride in a way we weren't able to do in the first couple of years has me feeling really good about it, which on the other hand turns the page over to Dice Check. Something that I don't think is fully understood by the populace is that live production is hard, but live production on a massive complicated war game is extremely hard, and more importantly, expensive. The battle reports we did were an absolute blast to film on camera and a living nightmare off camera. Each recording session tended to take most of the day, morning to night, and then the editing process had multiple editors working with tons of camera angles, graphics, you name it. I was technically only a guest on Dice Check, coming around here and there, and even I was stressed out about it. Other people, specifically Matt and our mutual friend Demeki, were crushed by the level of effort it required. So much so that burnout was absolutely inevitable, and even with the views and fan support, there was no way they could keep it up. There were multiple hiatuses due to sheer unrelenting mental burnout and financial difficulties, and every time it came back, it never lasted very long. Eventually, Dice Check itself was basically a dead project, as the effort of actually filming cost more in time and money than anything we would ever get back. Myself and Demeki did attempt to revive it. We gathered all the gear and spent an agonizingly long time trying to get it set up in a new office closer to me. The issue here is that, well, I'm not someone who specializes in live production like Matt was. I'm honestly terrible at it. This I did not know at the time, but realized very quickly as only a few months into attempting to revive the channel, it burned such a monumental hole in my pocket and my spare time that I too was burning out at a rapid rate. It was a really good lesson to learn. Failure is something that does far more teaching than success ever can, and it woke me up to exactly how much my mind and body can take in a given week. And more importantly, that not every single passion project is worth working on. The Warhammer arc has continued on, but it ebbs and flows. Warhammer is a hobby and a universe, and those two things are not items to base a life over. You enjoy a hobby while it's fun and put it down when it's not. I play 40K often, and I attend tournaments every few months to play and chat with new people. I listen to the books, play the games, and overall still really love the world. But I felt the same thing about League of Legends, and we can see where it is now. The flow of life and personal interests is fickle, and more than anything, I'm just extremely happy so many people got into the hobby because of the stuff I put out. Nothing is more fun than seeing tons of people enjoy the same thing you enjoy, and I'm not a weirdo who thinks a universe becoming more popular is a bad thing. But one day I may fall out of favor with it. and then maybe I'll pick it up again. Who really knows? So long as nobody tries to steal me and make me talk about it to a whole other subgroup of people.
I'm just gonna throw a fit.
Okay, good.
I'm gonna stomp my feet and cry and shit my pants.
This might actually come as a surprise to those who only ever watch this channel, because I have done nothing discussing my new VTuber arc. In late 2023, a newer member of vshoujo Talent, an agency that represents VTubers in the western part of the world, invited me to discuss Warhammer 40k with her on stream. Her name was Matara Khan, a gigantic cockroach from outer space, but, you know, boobs. One of the very common emails I would get in my inbox were people asking to react to my Every Faction Explained videos. Now, I don't personally enjoy React content myself, but I have zero issues with letting somebody else react when they ask permission. What was fascinating was that a massive portion of those emails were specifically from VTubers asking for permission. Most people never ask for permission, and having this community of streamers doing it so often was very refreshing. To clarify, I'm not going to do anything if they don't ask, but the fact that they are shows a level of character and integrity that I really appreciate. So after asking and reacting to my stuff, Matara Khan invited me to do a dual stream, or a collab, where we look at Warhammer memes and see if she can understand them. All the while, I let her know if she was correct or not. It went very well.
You're gonna say, no, it's fine. They paid me to show my nipples.
The only thing they're gonna arrest me for is capitalism, okay? What's the anime thing that everyone says? Shinji get into fucking mecha or something?
Stop! You can't just say, what's the anime? And it's like one of the most iconic anime. It's Evangelion.
Eva?
It's because you start off so strong, right? Then you like...
I didn't get to finish.
Now you know what it feels like for us.
Damn!
So you think 7 hours? Do you remember what you were playing?
I think guard.
Okay.
I think... Oops.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I just opened something.
Now at this time, I knew very little about VTubers outside of Iron Mouse, who had won Streamer of the Year, and the Shark and Detective ones. That's the Shark, and that's Gura and I think Amelia. As someone who isn't the biggest anime fan and also wasn't a big fan of how idol corporations treat their talent, I was skeptical about the industry. However, it changed rather quickly when I realized not only did it have a big resurgence during COVID, but for the most part, these were just role players. It was streamers who wanted to be a character, wanted to play a part, to give themselves a look and a backstory and not have their content locked to their own appearance. Plus, how could I ever blame them? People are psychotic, and the added layer of security is a huge deal, not to mention other benefits like not having to put on makeup to satisfy creepy people. There are definitely creeps, but you know, it's a different kind of creep in this universe, more parasocial, not a baby, let me want some fuck.
What are my pronouns? My pronouns are she/them. Let me see them titties. Ah!
So after a fantastic collab and realizing my initial assumptions about this world were wrong, a few more collab streams followed, all of them being very good. Then I met a few other members of vshoujo, then a few other VTubers, and well...
No one will even know the fact that I threw an impact grenade at you and killed you on purpose.
That was you! It said killed by impact, and I was like, what the hell is an impact?
Oh, whose airburst is that?
Me.
Oh, okay.
5? Good, bad?
Danger close?
Well, don't be such a pussy.
Yeah, I'm the girl.
Let's go. Yeah, you're the girl. It's true. You're our girly girl.
What's up, queens? I did go to a drag show, and as a extremely obvious straight male, I was
It's not that obvious.
Sorry. No, it's fine. If I were to take offense to that statement, it would say it'd be worse for me. Like I may not have the intelligence, but don't I need to be a little bit? Well, I won't go that far. But like, don't you need to be?
How tall without the forehead?
So I was considering about paying for advertising space for this thing.
For what thing?
Oh, for the forehead. So you have not played Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance?
No.
It's fine.
Why?
It's just it's a fun game. It's fine. It's okay.
Is it related to a thing?
It's related to Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance.
Would you like to see my Metal Gear Rising?
I'm emancipated from my family. Bricky, will you adopt me? Yes.
It's the only thing. You look like a Japanese gorilla.
What the hell? Mel, in a million years of guessing what you were going to post, that was not what I would have guessed. It would have taken me decades to figure that one out.
It's uncanny.
No, Josh, no, it's not.
Honestly, yeah, I think they look the same.
There's a particular meme of Hank Hill surrounded by anime figures, and I can't help but feel extremely proud to be an embodiment of exactly that. I hate to give Muktara Khan, that evil woman, any credit, but I do feel like I have been the happiest in my career this last year. I've met hundreds, and I do not mean that in hyperbole, hundreds of new people, and a couple dozen of whom I have been extremely close with. I have had friend groups throughout my career, but right now I feel like I am welcomed in a group of people who I get to see constantly and are ravenous to play games together. There is always a time to grab a bunch of friends and say, streaming Helldivers in a few hours if anybody wants to join, and someone will say yes. Every convention I go to, every mixer, every work event, someone I know will be there, and it's the most welcomed I've felt. Recency bias may be playing a part, but I don't know how much of a part. A lot of the time, it's a bad idea to mix friendships and business, but in this world, it isn't as much of an issue or a choice. Streaming with others is just an easier way to do what you were already doing. I could stream a game alone for hours, which has its merits, but if I play something with others, the day just flies by. Trust me, I never thought I would have seen myself surrounded by anime characters on the internet, but I'd be more foolish to turn my head such a good thing right now. In fact, it's had a huge impact on so much more than just streaming. In 2018, I was looking into doing my own merchandise and realizing most of my options available to me were terrible and paid even worse. So I just did it myself. Made my own Shopify account, sourced my own items, and handled it in my own way. Fast forward 7 years later, and now I have multiple offices, a crew of over 10 full-time employees, all with benefits, and I've begun taking on newer and newer clients. Those same VTubers have joined Orchid 8 for merchandise and have done some pretty insane drops. A certain bug VTuber, in fact, basically required us to triple our staff from her alone, and even more have been brought along. Orchid 8 as a merchandise company is something that deserves its own video when I get the time to do so, but it does feel like a sort of end game. See, I never expected this whole YouTube thing to last even during the initial years. I assume this has a lifespan of 10 years max. It's a burning the candle at both ends kind of industry, but it was also an industry that was so new, there was no past history to glean from. So I assumed 10 years max. Yet here I am. I still don't know if it's something that will last 20 years, but that's why I have my other ventures. Orchid 8 is a company that I pride myself in providing a really quality service in an industry rife with people doing the bare minimum. A white glove company so that people like myself can spend most of their time making their content and less time worrying about if someone is doing a good job. It also is the company I imagine might let me retire early one day if I play my cards right. Because again, my biggest sin is liking to do too many things. Right now, I've been doing reviews for a bit, and while I love talking about games, I can already feel myself getting tired of it. Reviews require you to be on top of the newest thing and live and die based on the name of the game, not how good it is. Combine that with deteriorating media literacy and an increase in hostility I've seen in reviews and fandoms, and it might just be something I want to shake up. One of the videos I was the most proud of in a long while was the Call of Duty Rats video, which was more investigative journalism, if I'm gonna sound really pedantic, but I absolutely loved that project. At the end of the day, I just like to do a lot of stuff. So everything has its use. My main channel is my creative outlet. My second channel is for simple, lower effort, fun things. The Twitch stream lets me interact directly with my fans. Adric is a lovely outlet for my hyperfixation, and Orchid 8 is giving back to an industry that has treated me very well over the years. My ability to provide the same treatment I gave to myself, increase competition in the space, and it might be the company that secures my future and possibly the future of my parents and family. I talk very heady for a startup, but I don't know a single startup founder that isn't a little overzealous sometimes. And that's really all. That's 10 years of Bricky. Basically my life story, or at least a third of it. This same year, I will be turning 30 as well. So combining all of this together at once is giving me quite the late quarter life crisis. I think if there's one thing I've learned from all of this is that there's something important about slow and steady. I succeeded faster than many others did at the start, but I have slowed down a lot more in the end. Many have surpassed me with time, but I don't know if I really envy it. I think it has just created a situation where no matter what I do, I can expect a minimum amount of folks to be at least interested in it, and that minimum grows ever larger with each passing year. If I had any advice to give to others, I'd say to treat this like most things in life, like work, hobbies, the gym, you painting your minis and pile of shame. I know you have some. It's just be consistent, enjoy it, and get a little better at it each time. Thank you so much for watching and letting me be so self-indulgent for almost an hour. Everyone likes to talk about themselves, but I feel like with the 10 year, it was a good time for it. Please do check out the merchandise. I am really, really proud of Orchid 8. I think we do a fantastic job. It's not without its faults, but when it comes to the actual quality of what we put out, I really think we're fantastic with it. So give it a look. It's in the description right down below. Check it out. Yeah. Thank you all again so much. And I hope to see you on the streams, the future videos. We're always changing stuff, and maybe you'll continue to see me in the 15 years of Bricky. Who knows? Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.